Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today is a very special show. I am just so fucking excited. I'm going to be interviewing an 80s movie legend, not just any, but from the camp of John Hughes. And I am talking about John Kapelos, Carl the janitor in the Breakfast Club. He was also in 16 Candles, Weird Science, Nothing in Common, Class, The Boost, so many great 80s movies. And I'm going to have him on today. I'm just so fucking excited. The guy's a legend, and he's also a Second City guy. And we have a lot to talk about, and I'm just so excited. It's going to be pretty fucking sweet. So, yeah. So here is my interview with John Kapelos. Hi, John.
Hey, Tommy, John Kapelos.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I am great. I'm great. Oh, it's such an honor. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Well, you're welcome. How's the recording working out? Everything good?
Oh, yeah. Everything's good. Everything is good.
So
What was that?
where are you?
Oh, Redding, California.
Oh, God. So did you have much fire problems up there?
Oh, yeah. Last summer, we had some fire problems up here. I wish I had never moved up here, but going to be leaving soon, so that's a good thing.
Where did you live? Did you live in L.A. before?
I was in San Francisco before. I'm trying to move to L.A.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Happy New Year to you.
Oh, Happy New Year to you, too.
So let's start. Give me your best shot here.
Okay. So going back to the beginning, did you know early on you wanted to act?
Yeah, I got a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do when I was in high school. I sort of got this sort of revelation. I kind of, when I say revelation, I did a school show, and I realized, God, this is fun. You know, I can meet girls, and I can get out of class, and I can do this. That was kind of simplistic. When I went to university, I was studying English, and after my third year of being in English class, I realized that I wanted to do something else, and I'd been doing a lot of plays in university and college. And that's sort of when I made the decision when I was a little bit more, dare I say, adult. And then I decided to take a chance, and I quit university and took some time off, and then I told my father and my mother, but my father was the deal maker, and I said I wanted to be an actor. And he said, okay, you can try it for a year, and if it doesn't work out, you're going back to school. And within a year, I got my job at Second City, and sort of the rest is history.
Yeah, what year did you get to Second City?
I started at Second City in August, September of 1978. Wow. I toured for 3+ years, 3.5 years roughly. Mm-hmm. I was in the main company for 5-6 years, and was there about 8 years in total.
Wow.
8+ years, whatever.
Wow, and this is in Canada?
I toured with the National Touring Company from 78 to around 82. In and around then, you know, it's a bit fuzzy because you do a lot of understudying. But I got in the company the day that Charles and I got married.
This was in Canada?
No, this was in Chicago. I did Second City in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
I left Canada to audition for Second City Chicago, and that was in August of 78.
Oh, okay. And who was in the company with you?
At the time, in the touring company, I was in the company with Lance Kinsey, Mike Haggerty, Megan Fay, a bunch of other people, Sandra Blogan, a woman named Sandy Davenport. And then when I got in the main company, I was in there with initially with Danny Breen, Bruce Kajarko, Jim Belushi. Then I was in the company later with Mike Haggerty and that guy Richard Kind.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was in with a lot of people. Tim Kazurinsky was in the company when before I joined. There were lots of people that went off SNL. There were lots of people from the Practical Theater Company, like Julia Dreyfus, that were in and around the theater. Gary Kroger, people like that.
Dan Castellaneta?
Dan Castellaneta was my understudy.
Nice.
Yeah, he was my understudy. So he and I never worked directly in any company, but he was just a little bit behind me, but not in talent, certainly, just in time.
I have an autographed picture of Homer Simpson that he sent me after I sent him a fan letter, like back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, he's one of the nicest people I've worked with, and I've worked with a lot of good people. But Dan is a shining light, and his light is only outshone by his talent. He's really one of the most talented people I know.
Yeah.
I dream of having his talent in certain ways, but he's a really, really lovely man, and he's just his rest position is really one of just calm and openness. He's really one of the coolest people I've met.
Oh, that's great.
And I've met a bunch of cool people too. So.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever work with John Candy?
John Candy was very instrumental in my early days when I was taking workshops in Toronto before I auditioned for Second City in Chicago. John Candy was guesting in the company in Toronto at the time, and I met him, and I was taking workshops in Second City in Toronto, and I asked him to do, if he would mind teaching a bunch of us who were a little bit more precocious to come and do a special workshop for us, which we had secured a space, and we tried to pay him, and he wouldn't take their money. But I have to say that John was one of the best teachers I had, and one of the people that really, really inspired me and encouraged me to get involved in Second City in Chicago. So I was incredibly blue when John passed away. He's got a wonderful daughter, Jennifer, and and a son, Chris, who are really following in his tradition. Jennifer's just really great. She does this show at Second City called Couch Candy here in Los Angeles that I was a part of last year, and she's really, really sweet. So
yeah.
Too bad he didn't get to know his children. Jennifer looks an awful lot like her father.
Yeah.
As Catherine O'Hara once said, John Candy, when he was in drag, he actually looked kind of cute.
Yeah, I follow her on Twitter and stuff. I've reached out to her, but never heard back. But yeah, I'm glad that his kids are doing great.
Person, just keep on trying. That's all.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad his kids are doing great, though. I mean, he was one of the greats. That guy.
He was, and he, obviously he left far too soon, and there's always a conflict that people face. He was a funny guy, but he was overweight, and his father died of a heart attack around 40, 41. And, he wanted to take off the weight, but there was always the problem of, like, will I work again? So it's a little bit of a balancing act. And in Sean's case, it was didn't turn out to be a positive thing, having all that weight.
Yeah. When did you move to Los Angeles?
I moved to L.A. to do the movie Roxanne in 86. I would say middle to late 86. And did the film here and in Vancouver. And that was a big opportunity and a lot of fun. It was a great experience. Mm-hmm. And I love the film to this day.
Oh, yeah, it's a great movie.
It's one of the few times, you do a movie and sometimes it's a great experience, but the movie doesn't turn out. And other times the movie can be kind of almost miserable, or maybe the shooting is not that much fun, or you're in a bad location, and it can turn out really well.
Yeah.
But the experience wasn't that great. In this case, the experience matched the product, in my opinion. So.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so during your years you were at Second City, I mean, you started playing small parts in movies. Like your first movie, you were a mechanic and thief. Yeah,
actually, probably thief, and another small, insignificant part in a significant movie was I had something in the movie Tootsie.
Right.
But that was, if you blink, you miss me, and I don't really break out in that film, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think the film that I sort of would count as my beginning into the film world was probably 16 Candles.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously after that, The Breakfast Club. I did a movie with a filmmaker called Ken Finkelman. I did a movie called Head Office, which was a lot of fun.
Yep.
With a lot of cool people were in it, Danny DeVito and Eddie Albert and Judge Reinhold, among others. And it was a movie that, wasn't incredibly well received, but it was actually a good thing to do. I did it for HBO Films. And then what film did I do after that? I did another film that was not incredibly well received, but another Judge Reinhold movie called Offbeat.
Yeah.
With Joe Mantegna was in that, and a lot of people. Penn and Teller, I think, were in it.
Harvey Keitel.
And that movie sort of didn't. Chris Noth was in it. He played my younger brother. It was his first film he did out of Yale.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Big on Sex and the City.
And Law and Order.
And Julie Bavasso was in it, a really great New York actress who died shortly thereafter. But again, working, and who else was in it was come on, John. He was, come on. He was in The Munsters, Mr. Munster. Fred Gwynne.
Fred Gwynne, yeah.
And it was his last movie, too. But, again, the movie wasn't spectacular, but, the experience of making the movie was great. So there's an example of, of that, meeting great people, working with great people. Unfortunately, the film doesn't always turn out to be, what you hoped it would be.
Mm-hmm. Before we get...
Like up until today, I worked a couple of years ago on the movie The Shape of Water. That was a great experience and also a great movie. So, you take your chances.
Yeah, you sure do. But before we get into the Hughes trilogy, though, I was curious. You had a role in Class.
Actually, I had a role in Class, but you won't see me in the movie because it was cut out. But I'm in the credits.
Oh, that's terrible. I think that Jim Quoth is the most underrated comedy screenwriter of the 80s.
Yeah, I think so, too, probably. That's but again, what successes he met with, and, it's a very difficult, it's a difficult world, particularly for writers to make a mark in, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I did the movie Nothing in Common with Gary Marshall, and he basically threw out most of what the writers wrote and said, improvise this, improvise that. One of the writers was on the set one of the days, and I sort of looked at him, and he kind of like, he's like, well, what can I do? It's Gary Marshall. So, but in John Hughes' case, he was a writer, and he could mess with his own works, and indeed he did. So.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get cast in 16 Candles?
Well, quite simply, I auditioned. I met with Jackie Birch was casting the movie, and John was bound and determined to make these films in Chicago, which is much to his credit. And I went in, and I did a really strong audition for Rudy Rizchek, and I think they kind of rewrote the family. The family was going to be more sort of a higher class family, I would say, and more waspy. But they decided to go a little bit more ethnic with them. And as a result, you had Marge Kotlitzky playing my mom, and I forget the actor that played my dad, but he was a non-actor sort of guy that was, I think, a member of, one of the crime families in Chicago, although I don't hold me to that. I just think he was a non-actor who fit the part in more ways than one. But and John was really, really one of these guys that was very open to meeting funny and new people at that time. So I was really fortunate that the window was open and I jumped in.
Oh yeah, I mean, did you?
I can't really, I have to mention her again as Jackie Birch, the casting person. If the casting person doesn't bring you in, you don't meet the directors, and so you have to sort of pass their litmus test. And Jackie Birch gave me, a nice a nice runway to get my career going there.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel that you were part of this like teen movie revolution that was beyond the sex comedy stuff at that time?
It's funny. I didn't really have a sense of where I was from that perspective. I knew that when I worked with John, there was a sense of importance, I guess, because there were a lot of people around from Hollywood that was new to me. I mean, I was a Chicago actor, and there seemed to be what I would call corporate wind-up. There seemed to be a lot of, enthusiasm and support from the powers that be. I also got a sense, especially more on The Breakfast Club and less on 16 Candles, that this film was different. It wasn't a Porky's. It wasn't sort of your run-of-the-mill 80s comedies that were, bachelor party, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cut above, and John was a cut above. And just the vibe on the set. And obviously, I read the script, and I thought, wow, this script is cool. I mean, there's something here that is not, that is original, and is not following the other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
There was, as you may remember, there were a lot of bad comedies and bad teen comedies
Yeah.
at that time, or ones that, attempted to miss the mark. I mean, I already referenced one, but, aside from the Porky's franchise, which I think did well financially, but, are those films worth revisiting today? I don't know. Probably don't think so. But, and I don't want to, my buddy Lance Kinsey was in a lot of the Police Academy movies.
Right.
And, they had their own fan base. Do they sort of, are they sort of films that try to be something more than they are? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that they were just comedies, and they weren't attempting big things. I think in a lot of ways John had a bit more ambition as a writer, and the work shows it. I mean, when you go ahead and see movies that I wasn't in, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, or Uncle Buck, which I think are two of his finer movies, or even the Home Alone franchise, which is obviously, to this day, people love. The films, I think, had something beyond just sort of the slapdash, put them together, make you laugh things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually reading this article that Molly Ringwald wrote in a magazine about a year ago, where she said she watched John's movies for the first time in years with her daughter recently, and she couldn't believe, in hindsight, because she hadn't seen them since they came out. She couldn't believe in hindsight how dark and sometimes misogynistic his humor could be.
Yeah, I think that, I read that article too.
Mm-hmm.
She did mention, the slut-shaming thing.
Yeah.
Of which, and there is a level of misogynism. I think that for that reason, the films shouldn't be ignored, but they should be examined even more.
Yeah.
In the sense, I mean, I really always felt uncomfortable with the long duck dong thing. I thought that was totally racist, and I still do.
Yeah.
It never really appealed to my sense of humor. And, there's the whole thing with the panties and 16 Candles, and there's a lot of stuff that, I think still exists in high school. I don't think just because you identify them that means that they're, I think identifying them is in a way of saying that this is bad behavior is a good thing. But in merely identifying them, they don't necessarily, that doesn't make them go away. And I think that people have to be aware of the fact that, that this behavior existed and exists. That doesn't mean that you vilify the movies. I think that you have to vilify the behavior, and you have to sort of point it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tricky thing, because I'm sure that there are things that are in movies nowadays that we're going to look at 20, 30 years from now, if I'm lucky enough to be around, that, will point to sort of behavior that isn't acceptable, in some time in the future that might be acceptable today. And indeed, I think that movies are about behavior, right? They're about human behavior and how people behave. You see films from the 1920s, 30s, 40s that show a world where, blacks were porters and worked in the kitchen and looked after people as opposed to being equal citizens. that doesn't necessarily mean we don't see those movies anymore, but we definitely see them in a different light. So being a student of film and film history, as I was in college, films really say more about the time that they're made in rather than the time that they're supposedly about. So when you see a Western in the 40s and it's talking about the 1840s, it's really talking about the 1940s.
Yeah.
So, or a film like High Noon, which is essentially a movie about Wild Wild West, it's really more about McCarthyism in the 1950s.
Yeah.
So you have to look at films sociologically, and you have to be smart about them, and you can't dismiss them like you can't dismiss Mark Twain because he uses the N-word, and you can't dismiss John Hughes movies merely because they might be misogynistic. Although I think that one has to be honest about the behavior that exists in them, and I thought it was a brave article on Maron's part.
Absolutely. The Breakfast Club is one of my top 3 favorite movies. I mean, I was watching it way before I should have, and I could quote the whole movie and everything. I heard over the years that you replaced Rick Moranis.
I did. Rick had the role initially. He wanted to play it as a Russian immigrant with the gold teeth and a long keychain dangling between his legs provocatively that he'd pick up and play with. And John said, well, did you read the script? The guy went to the school and Rick said, well, I wanted to do it like this. So John and he came to some sort of understanding that they'd try it. But after shooting for I don't know how many days, it just was obvious that it wasn't going to work out. And so they had a parting of the ways. And that's when I came in. And lucky me.
Yeah, I think you were far better off than he was. I mean, he's a funny and talented guy, but no, just what you just described, I don't think it would have worked at all.
Yeah, and also there's this thing in business, in my world as an actor, where you serve the work. What I read was what I acted. The guy went to the school. He was the janitor in the school. He probably was a student that probably had great success. And now he's like kind of a nobody, or at least hiding out as a nobody.
Yeah.
and you take the literature that you're given, and you go with it, right? So that's what I did. I had no interest in coming in with a preconceived notion of playing the guy like an Eskimo or a belly dancer or something. I didn't want to impose my so-called artistic vision on it because I had none. I came in to serve the work, and that's what good actors do, man.
I heard. Yeah, I saw an interview that Rick Moranis did to promote Ghostbusters around that time, and the interviewer asked him if it's true he's going to be in the next John Hughes movie, The Breakfast Club, and he said that John and I decided that I wasn't right for the part, but we decided we're going to work together again in the future. And now it didn't happen. I heard that John Hughes was a guy who he held grudges, and like if a movie he did with somebody was a failure, like he didn't want to even talk to the person again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know whether he wanted to talk to people that were in movies that were successes. I mean, the guy was, he had his oddities, and I do not purport to know him. I only worked with him briefly. What I felt like was that if there was a perception in his mind that you had crossed him or done something that wasn't according to his wishes, he was pretty tough in not dealing with people that he once may have. I don't really know the stories about other people and how he dealt with them, but he was somebody that after I did my bulk of work with him, I never really saw again. And when I tried to contact him, it was all for naught because I never really got a call back or a word back. And I suppose that was disappointing. But you can't expect people to not be themselves.
Yeah.
And if that's the way he was, and you also, I'm grateful for what I got and what I was able to do. Um, I think that, as Fellini says about artists, what they don't see is more important than what they do see. And I think sometimes John had a lot of blind spots that made him sort of maybe a bit of a prickly pear.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, and his life has been well documented, and he's been gone, what, now 8-9 years?
Yeah.
It's what it is, and so I can't, I can't really say much beyond that. The only thing that I would say is that I wish he was still alive and still working, and it's sad that he died so young.
Yes.
In my opinion, from what I saw, he smoked a lot of cigarettes, so maybe that's don't smoke those cigarettes.
Oh no, I did for like a year, like back in 2002 or something, and I just decided it's not worth my throat closing up on me. I'm not going to do it no more.
No, sir, it's not worth a lot of things. But John, John did a lot of great things for people, so I can, and including myself. So at the end of the proverbial day, I have nothing but good things to say about him, and whatever quirks and oddities and peccadillos he might have had, we're all entitled to them, and I think great artists revel in their sort of oddities anyway. So there you have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's left a hell of a legacy. He's got a wonderful, his wife Nancy is looking after it, and his children are, and they're guarding it, like crazy. I don't know whether you've seen the Criterion collection of the Breakfast Club, but
Not yet.
It's certainly something you should check out because it's got a lot of extra scenes and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen some of the extra scenes in the TV version, and yeah, the cast is amazing. I mean, they must have been all great to work with.
They were, and it was, I think, for all of them, a little bit of a golden time. So there's nothing that that they can look back on and have any major regrets about. I don't think. My only feeling is that it would have been nice if John had done a sequel at some point, and that would have been interesting. But
yeah,
where they are today or whatever. But Hollywood stuff is some sequelitis, and for the most part, I hate them. So I can't even believe I'm saying that.
I'm glad it didn't happen. It's a standalone classic.
Yeah, I know. But in some ways, it would have been interesting if he'd revisited the cast in some interesting way. But that's just idle chatter right now.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite line that you have in the movie is when you say to Vernon, "If you were 16, what would you think of you?"
Yeah, I mean that was one of my favorite ones to deliver. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a great line. Even my dad likes that line too. And then in Weird Science, you got to play a Greek pimp.
Yeah, my ultimate career ambition.
What exactly is a malaka?
Exactly, it's a jagoff. It's a jerk off. A malaka in Greek is somebody who masturbates.
Oh.
So it's in the Chicago parlance. It's basically you're a jerk off. And to this day, the Greek community, my late mother, at the time she was alive, obviously she was not too pleased that I used that word. So she's still, I can still hear her protesting. But the Greek said, "Why did you popularize a word like that?" I said, "I don't know. I mean, ask John Hughes." We came up with it, and I let it fly. So there you go.
Wow, that's awesome though. So yeah, I also love Head Office. Do you have any memories of that movie that are good?
So I actually do 2 roles in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you know that.
Yeah.
I play the fashion director, and I also play with the director of some fashion show with military games, and then I play General Sepulveda. Ken Finkelman is one of these guys. I mean, he did this show called The Newsroom. Not The Newsroom. He did a naked show version. Oh gosh, what was it called? The Newsroom was another show, but it sort of presaged shows like The Office and things like that. he's a very talented, funny director, and and like that. I mean, my experience of doing that movie was working with Eddie Albert ever so briefly, and he was kind of a hero of mine from Green Acres. So.
Yeah.
And my mother had a picture taken with him, so she was thrilled to meet Eddie Albert. And like that, Judge Reinhold, I wish he had a better career. He was very, very funny. He was a friend.
Yeah, I always say that Ken Finkelman was just so unfortunate because in 1982, for Paramount Studios, he wrote Grease 2 and he wrote and directed Airplane 2, and they were both disasters.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't the best time for him. I know that. But he was working. He was working. I mean, he was certainly working it. But timing is everything, right? I mean, it's funny that you mention that because he had great opportunities, and unfortunately, those two films, Grease 2 and Airplane 2, were just not helpful.
Yeah, was he under a lot of studio pressure?
Well, the Deborah Hill, who produced Head Office, was, I think, she's passed away since.
Yeah.
She was a dynamo of a producer, and I think that she and Ken had a special relationship, so she might have been one of his fans that was cheering him on. Ken's a talented writer. I think he deserved better. But, they gave him those assignments, and it's tough to say what's going to hit and what's going to miss,
Was John Peters on the set?
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
I've heard a lot of crazy stories about that guy.
No, I mean, I haven't. I've never encountered him, but all I know is that he wasn't on the set.
Let's see, you had a role in Nothing in Common. I like that movie.
Yeah, it was good to work with Gary Marshall, and of course with Tom Hanks, who was dynamo, incredibly, just hard-charging, hard-working guy, and of course it was Jackie Gleason's last movie, so that was kind of bittersweet. And he was an interesting man to meet and encounter.
What was Jackie Gleason like?
He was old and slow, but he was aware and quite funny when he was up to the task. I think he was winding down in terms of his life, so it was, that's why I say it's bittersweet. And Sheila Ward was in that film, and of course, come on, John, now, beautiful actress who's in North by Northwest. And
Eva Marie Saint.
Eva Marie Saint, right, who played Tom Hanks' mother, of all things. So, and and a lot of my Second City cohorts were in the film, too. So, I hate to tell you this, but I got to wrap this up soonish.
It's okay. It's okay.
I mean, if you wanted to do some more talking, I just have to go to lunch. I've got a business lunch happening, so I got to get going. Did you want to reschedule and then do some more talking and pick it up from here?
Oh, we can do another one next time.
Or do you want to just use this one for this podcast and do another one again?
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could figure it out.
Because I'm sorry, I just got a text. I got to get going.
It's all good. It's all good. John, thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, and we'll talk again eventually.
Yeah, and get back in touch and we'll talk about my career since Nothing in Common. A few things have happened.
Yeah. All right. You have yourself a great day, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care now. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. John Kapelos. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, John. I'm so glad that we could talk about your career, and there's plenty more. We'll talk again in the future. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page in Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.